because we have more power than we think we have, and we have more agency than we think we have. If I was able to do all these things without any connection, power or wealth, it's for people who have even some of that, yeah, you can do incredible things. So don't believe when someone said that you can't do it. You can do it, definitely.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to my show. My name is Tiffany Alexander. I'm so excited to have you here. This is Unveiling Journeys, and I have a phenomenal guest for you today. Can I just tell you a smidge about me? I love people. I love hanging out with people. I love genuinely hearing out their stories so much that if we were hanging out in person, I'd probably ask to look in your backpack or your purse because I just want to know so much about people. And the more people I get to know, the more I realize that small business, medium business, like it really is down to the humans and the people within it. And so when I get to spend time with these incredible humans, I'm like, how do I get to know more people like you? And that's naturally just asking for a referral to the next cool person so I could bring them on the show, which is sort of how it was born. And then from there, I'm like, by the way, I know people that you need to know typically. And I try to get people to share my circle. So with that, I brought on Anne today. She's my next guest. I'm so excited. Do me a favor and tell everybody who you are and what you're up to right now.
Thank you. Hi, Tiffany. I'm really happy to be here with you to have this lovely conversation. So my name is Anne Plaisance. It's like pleasant, but with an S. Easy to remember. I'm French, as you can hear. I still don't have the Boston accent, even though I'm working on it hard. So I'm in Massachusetts, in the US. It's been like more than 10 years now. I'm a visual artist, a curator. So my main medium is painting. I love painting. I love passion colors, and I have always a ton of ideas. So sometimes it's painting, sometimes it's a sculpture, and an installation, a project. I'm like always like blurbing with with ideas. It's like champagne, a lot of bubbles of ideas.
That's awesome.
So I had like more than 100 shows worldwide, articles in magazines. Yeah, I've done a lot of stuff, and I keep doing new things because, of course, I love to go out of my comfort zone. So when I can do something that is kind of like scary, but at the same time, like exciting. Like, could I do that? Let's check. Am I good at it or am I really bad? So it's, and it's the same with creativity, with paintings, with, like pushing myself to do better, to do bigger, to do different. So voila. So that's me.
That's incredible. I love the projects that you've done. And I know that we were able to talk and you were telling me about some of it. And I was like, oh, I've not really had, I think, an artist on the show. And I wanted to bring you on to share your amazing things that you do, because when people get to experience your art, it's unlike anything else, because you're not like, I'm not like buying a service from you, but I kind of am. Because if you could buy your art, then you could have this piece of enjoyment that you want in your life, which is a fun way to be able to service people with your creativity that you have and you get to bring to everybody. This is so fun. Let's do this. I want to tell your story. So you said you're from France, and like, tell me from the beginning, like, what was your childhood like? Did you think you were going to be an artist right away? Did you go to school for it? And then we'll circle back around to kind of what you're doing now.
Okay. So, yeah, I was born in France, in Paris. I lived there for like 22 years. I finished actually my studies at the Sorbonne in economics. So, and I honestly didn't think I would become an artist. It wasn't even like a potential dream or an
Really?
option in France. It's like, you need to find a job, you need to find a career, you need to make money. Like, there's the stigma of the poor artist, eating rice and pasta all their lives. It's kind of really present. It's not a career. It's not considered a career in France. So it wasn't even in my mind. I mean, at one point when I was a teenager, I was like, I want to be a fashion designer. But I was like,
Fun.
yeah. No, my dad was like, it's not a good career. Don't even think about it." But I was attracted actually highly to the fashion world, to the luxury world. So I ended up doing like some internships for Givenchy, for example, in New York, which was like unexpected, or working with for Ungaro, Emmanuel Ungaro in Paris. So you know, I was close to this world. It was interesting, and when I was in France, I really felt the pressure of, you need to find a job, you need to make money, etc. And one of my dreams, also, I had like plenty of dreams, was to have my company one day. Looking at the job market in France, I was like, you know what? I'm not called Anne de Plaisance. I don't have many connections. My parents don't have any. It's like, uh, let's move to another country. And my initial thought was to come after my studies to the US. I was like, yeah, let's come to the United States. It would be exciting, so many opportunities. I will learn to speak better English, etc., etc. Because I really loved my stay in New York. I just love the city, the energy, the people, like everything. It's just like, it's like there's so much energy when I'm in New York that actually I can't even sleep there. I'm like, oh, let's go to this show, this exhibition. Like, oh, let's try this food. It's just, I become insane in New York with the will to do things. So I decided actually to move to Poland, to Warsaw, because my mother is Polish and my father is French. And I was like, you know what? Because of the fall of the, Berlin Wall, the fall of communism, so much is going on. I want to be part of it because it will be
Mm.
interesting. It will be different. I will learn a lot. I will meet a lot of people, and I'm like a life lifelong learner. I always learn. I was always curious and following my curiosity. Kind of a little bit on the whim. I was okay. Let's go to Warsaw, to Poland. Speak better Polish. I will have interesting experiences. And then I will go after 2 or 3 years, I will go to the United States because I will have 3 years of experience. I was like 22 at the time. So I moved there. I worked in advertisement. I worked for Polish radio in the sponsoring and special events department, where we were like, trying to create things that were interesting for the public and interesting for brands.
Hmm.
So it was, it was a very interesting job and very formative. And then I worked for several companies, and after a while, I ended up opening my own advertisement company,
Oh,
which was like one of my dreams. Yeah.
right.
So I had it for a few years. I loved it. But came 2008
Oh, no.
crisis. I had
Yeah.
one main client. He didn't sign a contract. I had to close my company, and it was really hard. It was tough for me because I really, enjoy working with people, and I really felt responsible for, everyone who was working for me. So I had to close it. And I decided, I always loved art. I began actually being a collector. Like
Mm.
when I moved to Poland, I was like, oh, I can buy some art.
Yeah.
Isn't that wonderful? So I went to school for 1 year in Warsaw, the Warsaw Academy of Art. And then I decided that actually I didn't want to go back to studies because I had two kids that were little at the time. And I was like, I don't want to go again into the, the hamster wheel, working all the time, having no time for my children, or not enough, not as much as I wished. Maybe it will take more time, more, it would be more difficult to have a career. But, I want to have some pace and some harmony and some freedom. It was the good path, and I ended up, like having exhibitions in several countries and doing artworks that I didn't think at the time I would be able to create. So it's been a rewarding journey. And the interesting thing I remember when I had my first show in Warsaw was that I, I had kind of finally found my family.
Mm.
Like people, I was like, actually, it's not that I'm weird. Maybe I'm a little bit weird, but it's just that I'm an artist.
It feels
Because
different, right? You get to use that part of your brain people don't even imagine using their imagination, right?
yes, I was just like, the brain, and I don't know, thought differently, I approached things differently, and I connected with people differently. So it really felt like suddenly it was the right people that I should have, met earlier. But, all experiences were good because it helped me anyway, for everything, having a business. So fast forward, after 18 years, I moved back to France for 1 year, and then I moved to the US. And I've been, continuing art. I created a project that's called Wonder Women Now, women empowerment project that is very transformative. So it's focused on, education, inspiration, giving hope. It celebrates the strength of survivors of domestic violence. Because when I came here to the US, I was honestly really impressed by the sense of community. Like, I haven't seen that in France or in Poland. Like, people really wanted to give their time to causes that are important for them, that are close to their heart, close to their values. And I was like, I like that. I was welcomed here. I want to do something for others. So I approached a shelter in Cambridge because I had this wonderful idea of creating a tiny house and, helping homeless people live in it. But at the time, I had no clue that basically very often when you see homeless women, it's because they left, abusive situations. So putting them in a tiny house, like in the middle of nowhere, it's like the worst idea ever. So I remember the director of this shelter was like, I like you. You have some interesting ideas, but the tiny house, like in the middle of nowhere, it's a big no. Forget about it. So I began to organize art workshops in this shelter for, survivors. So you had you have different ages. You have kids like running around everywhere because we were having the workshops in the kitchen. So, you had women like, okay, come here. I will feed you. Like, hey, come here. I need to change your pampers, etc., etc. So it was kind of intense, but I don't know. I felt like they were helping me more than I was helping them because it
Wow.
wasn't like, art courses to help them, it was just like, let's have fun. There are many studies showing that, after 45 minutes of art doing, your stress levels are decreasing, your cortisol is decreasing, like additional benefits. There was a study done at Harvard about that. Like, after 45 minutes, like when you're in the flow, you are focused on a creative activity, you're like calmer, you feel better, or, you have more harmony. It has also, benefits on your ability to focus. Uh, like the prefrontal cortex is also like, it has a lot, art doing has a lot of benefits on, on your prefrontal cortex. So it's like, when you look at all the benefits, it's like, yeah, let's do art because it's good for our health. So I saw it in action, like they were, more relaxed and more smiling, and they felt better. And it was just, wonderful to see them like open up, be more of themselves. Because when they arrived, they were like, crouched and and sad and crushed by life and by the situation.
You're
Was that?
healing them with your art.
Yes, yes. So after a while, I decided to do a photography project because I was like, I could never do that. Like some of them were living with, one kid under one arm and a plastic bag with, few things they could grab to leave an abusive situation. Well, I could never do that. Like they are Wonder Women. So I created the photography project where you see, women in power pose or in different pose with masks, of course, to protect their identity. And I still remember the photo shoot with, like before and after the shoot. I was just smiling. They were happy. And when they saw the picture, they were, oh my gosh, they felt empowered. To fast forward, the project has evolved with, exhibitions in Massachusetts. There was a tour in 24. And now it's touring in Europe. And from like, an idea like, yeah, I want to do something for others. It just like, evolved into different chapters that were like building up on each other and having more impact. So just to give you an example, the show Wonder Woman now isn't it has the symbolic shape of a house. So you go from the most public space to the most private. So you go to the living room, all of that through scenography, objects, furniture. It's like have a good visual visual skills to envision and make that happen. So you go from the living room, dining room to the kitchen to the bedroom. At the end, you go to the a room of your own, and what you see each room like convey a different emotion. So, for example, and is linked to specific manipulation technique. So, for example, before, we don't speak. I think we don't speak enough about all the forms of abuse. Like, there's physical abuse. That's the first thing that comes to your mind. But there's like emotional, psychological, financial, spiritual. They are
Yeah.
all these types of abuse that are not easily identified, or like, oh, it's not that important. I mean, you can show you can show a bruise when there's physical abuse, but like when there's emotional abuse, how do you show your soul? There's no way of showing your soul. So, for example, since we talk about art, I made like conceptual artworks that show the manipulation tactics as perfume bottles, um, like, love bomb, gaslighting, future faking,
Yeah.
triangulation, projection, manipulation.
Wow.
And it's interesting because every time I show this little, glass bottles, people are, what's the smell? I'm like, yeah, what is the smell of a lie?
Ooh, right?
What what's the color of love bombing? What's the shape of gaslight? You can't show it. So the idea is really to show something that is intangible in a tangible form, in a physical form. Also, another thing is that manipulation is really something that is as complex as a perfume. There are like 40 manipulation tactics. So you can imagine, like, pick and choose the various degrees. And actually, smell is one of the most primal and emotionally charged senses. It's, directly wired to the limbic system. So, for example, it activates the amygdala, our emotional center, and the hippocampus, the memory formation center. So, you smell something and it reminds you, you can have good memories like, oh, this smell reminds me of a cake that my grandma was cooking. And just, it brings you back the memories. So it brings back the good
Hmm.
memories, but
Yeah.
also the bad ones, the difficult ones. So yeah, so I'm like, so the more so when you're at the exhibition, you slowly understand what abuse is. And it's not only for, survivors of domestic violence or only women. It's really for everyone because it can happen to anyone. Um, and for example, I'm a survivor. I was in an abusive situation, and thanks to my art, and thanks to the workshops I did, I realized what was going on in my couple at the time. So that's why also I'm saying that, the survivors at the shelter, I feel like I have a debt
Hmm.
uh, because the time I spent with them and the education that the shelter provided helped me realize that some stuff are not normal in my couple. What's going on? And I couldn't figure out because there's this cycle of violence. There are some patterns that are present all the time.
That's phenomenal. I love that you're so bold to be able to share all this and ingenuitive to be able to invent this up to bring this non-visual thing to a visual ability. And now you've got it spread across all of the different, what's it called? Where you get to bring your art, like a art show?
Yeah, yeah. During exhibitions, during the art.
Exhibition, right? I was like, I don't remember that word. Um, this is great. I love all the work that you're doing. Now, I want to ask you, this is sometimes a lot of hard work and I mean you're doing really well. Why do you keep showing up? Why do you keep doing what you do?
I think my main, I would say it's really using, going from pain to purpose, but it's really trying to serve who I was, the younger self, like my 20 years old, who was like completely naive, like unconscious about, all of that. And of course, there was no education about it. But so it's like, in a way, helping the young Anne. And since I can't travel in time, I can help others. So the idea is really to see, okay, how can I use this experience that could have destroyed me but hasn't? How can I use it in a constructive, positive way? How can I transform it, basically? Where's the alchemy here? Like, from using pain, making art, inspiring, sharing the light, sharing stories, giving hope. Because I, the more I work on all these projects, and the more I see that abuse is prevalent in our society. Uh, all these manipulation tactics you can find at school, you can find at work, you can find at work, in the boardroom, in the political arena. It's really like spread everywhere. So the more we are educated about, what is going on, and the more you can see, huh, what this person said, like, with what my boss said, it's gaslight. What this politician said, it's like future faking. Okay. I was politicians too. A lot of future faking.
Yeah.
Everything will be better when you vote for me. Yeah, sure. Look at the facts, not at the words. So I'm thinking that actually, what came from something that was maybe personal, it became more general and even maybe political. Because, talking about abuse, about manipulation, about education, about, helping others, about inspiring them, about, helping them find the light at the end of the tunnel. It's almost a political program.
Yeah, yeah. This is incredible. I love all the stuff that you're doing and your journey in it. At this point, people are thinking, I want to follow you on your website and see kind of what you're up to. What's your favorite way for people to come find you?
I would say I'm more active on Instagram. So it's my first and last name, Anne Plaisance. That's the easiest way to find me, because I must admit, I'm very bad at actualizing my website.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Are
and
you
it's just it's just easier on Instagram. You post a picture, a video. It's just like, so I'm also on Facebook, but I would say Instagram is my main media. And I'm on TikTok too, but not very active lately. So I would
All
say to
right.
keep in touch, Instagram is a good thing. Yeah. And
Perfect.
if there is anyone who want to be, inspired and learn about, interesting stories regarding women, hidden stories or like forgotten stories, I have a digital guide that is absolutely free that I can send you. So you just need to put, bit.ly/Anne Plaisance, capital A and capital P, and you will receive a beautiful digital guide with stories from Marilyn Monroe, Maya Angelou, Ella Fitzgerald, Yayoi Kusama. And that's the new project I'm working on that is called Becoming More. It's the new chapter.
Oh, perfect. You answered my question. I was like, what are you doing next? Here you are talking about it. Go ahead.
Sorry, I'm like, yeah,
No, it's perfect. No,
I'm
it's good.
doing
It's good.
a lot of things. So it's a series actually I wanted to work on. It's been like maybe, I don't know, 3 years, maybe 4. Yeah, let's say 3 years. And I guess I needed some time to crystallize. So sometimes it takes me longer than I expected. But I like stories like you invite different people on podcast, and I love hearing, various stories that can, like, sometimes you hear something that just inspires you to do something different in your life, or like just bring a little bit, 10% more happiness and joy. So right now I have a list of like 170 women that I want to paint, but I could go, if I live long enough, I could maybe go to 1,000.
Wow.
If I go until like I'm 90, 95, I might there, depending on what's going on, in my life. And to give you an example, there's a fact little known that Marilyn Monroe and Ella Fitzgerald were friends, and Marilyn Monroe at one point helped Ella Fitzgerald, soar in her career. I mean, it was thanks to her voice, but Marilyn used her connection and her power to really be supportive. So I just find this story beautiful, as an example of sisterhood on all levels, like using your privilege or your fame or your connections or whatever you have to help other women. So, and they're like, the more I dig into the subject and the more I find like hidden stories about inventors, scientists, authors, painters that are like forgotten, or just, sometimes you have inventions that have been stolen. So I'm like, I'm getting lost in the rabbit hole of the research. I might need an assistant to do the research for me because I'm like, yeah, it's so
Right,
interesting.
right. Bring some AI into this to let DeepSeek
Yeah.
for us. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for sharing all of this. I want to do this. I want to wrap up, but with your favorite like nuggets of wisdom, your little golden words that we could leave everybody with.
They say, maybe one thing that, when you think you can't do something, think again. Because we have more power than we think we have. And we have more agency than than we think we have. If I was able to do all these things without any, like, connection, power, or wealth, it's like, for people who have even some of that, yeah, you can do incredible things. So don't believe when someone said that you can't do it. You can do it, definitely.
Mm, so good. I love that so much. You've been amazing. I thank you for sharing your heart and your journey and your story for all of this. And those of you guys who are like, wait, I don't know, it's in the show notes, or shoot me a message. I'll get you connected to Anne so that way you can follow everything that she's up to and that she's doing. And if you want to hang out with her, she's accessible. So that way you could reach. And by the way, everybody still listening, thank you for hanging out and thank you for listening to the whole show. Um, I look forward to seeing you on the next show, and I implore you all to go have a wonderful rest of your day. And I'll see you all soon.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Bye bye.
Bye.